Welcome to LUTV News InFocus, where we feature interesting topics on campus, in the community, and in the world of culture. I am Gabriel Poarch. A broadcasting job is never guaranteed, but with the right mindset, anything is possible. Saphire Cervantes has always had a passion for sports. After graduating from Oklahoma State University with a bachelor's degree in sports media, her first job was at KJCT News 8, ABC in Grand Junction, Colorado. Now Cervantes is the weekend sports anchor and reporter at 12 News Now in Beaumont. Saphire is here to share her journey and give advice to future sports broadcasting professionals. Saphire, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, of course. I have hopefully some advice to give. Good advice. We'll see.
Well, let's get right to it. So for you, where do you think your passion for sports originated?
Okay, well, I have 3 brothers. I'm the only girl in my family, but none of them liked sports. So my dad kind of gave that to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I watched football with him, big Dallas Cowboys girl. I'm from downtown Dallas. So a big Dallas Cowboys girl, and then the Mavericks, of course, would have like their $5 nights that my parents would take us to. And, you know, I cheered my whole life, so I was always in that realm, in that arena, I guess. And instead of man in the arena, it was woman in the arena. But I went to college and thought I was going to be a doctor. Mm-hmm. And surprise, called my parents, and I told them, hey, just kidding. I'm not going to medical school. I'm going to be on TV. Yeah. And I'm going to talk about sports. And so that was quite a conversation to have with my parents. And it was all because I had a nursing, at-home nursing gig where my client, my patient per se, had cerebral palsy. And so he was Athlete of the Year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For Special Olympics Oklahoma. And I just forgot what it felt like to be kind of in the sports world again. Mm-hmm. And we got to go in the locker rooms all the time. And I got to go with him to all his Special Olympic events. And I just fell in love with it all over again.
Okay. So you kind of just touched on it, but let's fast forward to your time at Oklahoma State. Mm-hmm. Was there another factor that motivated you to become a sports broadcaster?
Oh my gosh, I love Oklahoma State sports more than anything in the world. If you see me around, you see my car, I bleed
lunch kit
bright
too.
orange.
I've seen your lunch kit, Yeah,
my lunch bag, everything is Oklahoma State. I'm a big poke. And my first football game, it was over. Man, I loved it. And so I also did college news just like you do, and I did not want to give up my Saturdays for football. So I covered mostly basketball. Okay. You know, that's still fun. I got to be there, but I did not want to give up my football days because, man, do I love football and do I love Oklahoma State football.
Gotcha. So the experience that you learned in college, what was the biggest challenge that you had faced when you started at Grand Junction with that transition from college to an actual reporting job in the field?
Yeah, well, when I transitioned, so I started off in news because I graduated in December 2020, so pretty recent, and there were a lot of sports jobs, and there just weren't a lot of jobs in general because, you know, COVID was happening and everything. So I basically put my resume out to any and everywhere that would take me. My professor, he told me, you know, I've been teaching for almost a decade, and I can count on one hand how many students I've had that had a job right outside of college. Yeah. So I was like, I'm gonna be that kid. But you better get your other hand ready. Yeah. So once I got that job, and I started out producing, and I worked from midnight to 10 a.m. Oh wow. Monday through Friday. Oof. And that was a hard schedule, I'll be honest. I moved almost 20 hours away from my friends and my family. It was pretty hard. And so that transition was getting used to being on my own and, you know, figuring out a career as a producer, which I only ever produced sports in my life, never produced a 2-hour-long, newscast. So that was a lot of learning to do, lots of misspellings, lots of mistakes, lots of coffee. For sure. Just because it's a lot of learning, and I had to remind myself to kind of be gentle that I'm 23 years old, and you know, I don't know everything about the industry, and then I became an MMJ and realized that not everyone is your friend. Yeah. And not everyone thinks everything you do is important or has the same opinion as you. And, as a journalist, you're not supposed to be opinionated, but of course, people have their own opinions on each story, and you just had to kind of learn to be professional. And I'd say that was really hard, learning to do news, transitioning from sports, because I'm so used to being so fun and so energetic, and then having to do serious, hard-hitting stories that people cared a lot about. And I think having to decipher through people's opinions and not worry about them as much was something I had to learn as kind of a new little baby in the industry.
Okay. So now you work here in Beaumont at 12 News now. Would you say the job is easier from the experience that you had being a news reporter and also a sports reporter from Grand Junction? Would you say like the field experience is a lot easier to like manipulate through?
I mean, I think any experience is going to make any job easier. So once you the biggest thing with this job is you go to these markets, you go to these like jobs in the middle of nowhere in random places because you want to get your reps in.
Yeah.
You want to just practice. So, because, that makes you more comfortable in front of the camera, and you figure yourself out, and you figure out, what you like, what you don't like, how you sound, how you want to sound.
Yeah.
And so I'd say coming here, it was an easier transition for me to, one, be away from my family because I already knew how that felt.
Yeah.
But two, also, I knew kind of the route that I wanted to go to and how I wanted to tell stories and what worked and what didn't. And, it's a different market. It's a different audience now, of course, with like sports. And so it's a lot more fun. But also, these are stories that people care about. You're doing features about someone's son, someone's, grandkid. And so it's really important. And so as someone who came from news into sports, I feel like I have a better perspective on how to tell stories and, how to tell them in the way people want to hear them.
Gotcha. So for me, I'm a sports anchor. So what advice would you give to any future aspiring sports broadcasting students?
Oh, any advice I would give? Probably just, one, don't be too harsh on yourself, because you can look at other people and their careers can be going in a totally different path. And it could be moving faster than yours, or it could be, they could be doing things that you wish you were doing, but everyone moves at their own pace.
Yeah.
I graduated with a handful of girls, and sometimes we'll call each other up, and sometimes it does get discouraging because I'm like, oh man, I wish I was at the Final Four, covering something. That would be super cool. But also I have to remember that like I'm going through my own process and I'm learning at my own pace.
Yeah.
So I just say like, be gentle with yourself. You're learning, and you still have a lot of time to grow as, a reporter, as an anchor, as whatever you want to do. And so just give yourself that time and you'll grow into it.
Okay. Well, thank you for the advice that you have given to me and the people watching at home. And thank you for watching LUTV News in Focus. To see more content from LUTV News, follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook.